Okay, welcome everybody to the second Sweep Leader webinar. I'm just going to share my screen to show you our presentation. Okay, so, all right, here we are. So this second webinar is about promoting and preparing for your Sweep project. So I'll be handling the first part of this webinar presentation, and then I'll pass it over to Jen for the second half. And we'll be taking questions at the end of the presentation, and you can drop questions in the chat as you think of them as well, and we'll refer to them after the presentation. Okay. So thank you so much for tuning in. We're really excited to be starting this next stage of the planning process. This is really where the details come in and where we can start getting excited about Sweep coming up very soon. Okay, so by now you should have received via email your registration link for your page, and also a link to a list of registrants that is updating currently. And if you have trouble accessing those links, just let us know and we can resend them. But those are a good thing to look at, particularly the registration list, just to get a sense of how many more volunteers you need to recruit for your site. And then you also should have received some promotional materials, including a PDF of the poster that's in this slide here, and also a digital promotion kit, just to tell you a bit about how to promote your site on Facebook and Twitter, and other things like that. Okay. All right, so we're going to be going over all of these steps in detail throughout this presentation, but we're just going to give you an overview right now of the next steps that we'll be talking about in this presentation and that you'll be embarking on in the next few weeks. So you can recruit volunteers. I'm just going to check the, okay. So the first step is to recruit volunteers and be sure to have them register for your site. And we'll get more into this later, but the reason that we would like people to pre-register is to minimize contact with shared materials such as sign-up sheets on the actual sweep day. So that's important. And then the next step is to identify any materials that you might need for your site and secure donations. So this could include, you know, folding chairs or clipboards, just thinking about those materials. And then the next thing is securing a trash hauling strategy. And we will go into detail on this later in the presentation, but that's a key step in preparing for Sweep Day. And then the last thing is just acquainting your volunteers as we actually prepare for the day of Sweep, making sure that they're all ready to go, they know where to meet, and that they've had some communication from you by October 17th. So we recommend that you reach out to them by October 13th, so a couple days before the site, the Sweep Day. Okay, so now we'll go into detail on each of those steps. So the first thing is recruiting volunteers. So this should be familiar to you at this point, but the promotional toolkit is there for you to use to reach out to your network and your friends and community to promote your site. So, you know, this could be something as simple as posting on Facebook that you are a Sweep leader and that you're looking to have people join to volunteer with you on October 17th, or posting to your professional network on LinkedIn, or reaching out to any groups that you may be a part of or know of that might be interested in sharing this volunteer opportunity. So if there's a local school that has a focus on science, or, you know, just use your imagination to think of groups in your area that might be interested in sweeping. And then the next thing is to reach out to any local media in your area. So this could be your local news station or newspaper, magazine, journal, anything that you think might be interesting, and also that might show up on to your site on sweep day. That can happen as well. And then the last thing in terms of recruitment on your end is to submit your event to any local community calendars. So we have done this for the Waterfront Alliance, which is a New York City based group. But if there's one in your community that you can think of that would help spread the word about the event, that would be great. Okay. And then the next step is to encourage volunteers to register online. And there are a few reasons for this. I explained the reason in light of COVID. We want fewer contact of shared materials on sweep day. But there are some other reasons as well. First being, we have the liability waiver built into our registration pages for each sweep site. So that's great. So everybody knows, what they're getting into, and that we can have a safe surface project. And then the second thing is that if volunteers are interested in ordering t-shirts, they have to do that online prior to the day, of course, and that deadline is October 4th. So coming right up. And having them register online also enables you, the sweep leader, and also us, the organizers, to contact them about updates to their project, reminding them of their project, just staying in the loop about anything that they might need to prepare for sweep. And if they sign up to receive emails from Riverkeeper, then they'll be looped in to receive information on even further ways that they can help out the Hudson in the future with Riverkeeper. Okay, so the next step is to collect and identify necessary materials for your project. So there are some very typical items that you might need, including work gloves and trash grabbers, shovels, things like that. And volunteers are encouraged to bring these items if they have them, but it may be a good idea for your project to have extra tools on hand. So many sweep projects occur in parks, so you can contact the landowner, which may be the municipality, and see if they are willing to provide some of the items that may already be in their possession, such as trash grabbers and trash bags and things like that. And if that route doesn't work out, or if you are doing cleanup on a site that isn't public land, you can also access the donation form, which is on the Resources for Sweep Leaders page, and will also be in a document that we're sending out after this webinar, with a sort of cheat sheet for all the links that you may need for this next stage of planning your sweep project. You can access this donation form to contact local businesses or organizations in your area that you think would be interested in donating these necessary materials for a volunteer project such as sweep. And then the last thing here, in terms of necessary materials, we're asking volunteers to bring their own water and refreshments this year. In the past, sweep leaders have been really generous and donated their own refreshments for their volunteers, but this year we're asking that sweep leaders refrain from doing that for obvious reasons. Okay, and then one of the big ones, trash hauling and recycling. So we spoke about this a bit in the last webinar, but to sort of add more detail this time, you can communicate with the landowner of your site about trash hauling procedures and see if they already have kind of a system in place for service projects, particularly if it's a park. The park may be able to directly help you with disposing of the waste for you. And for projects that are not at parks, it's still possible that the municipality may help you out in disposing of trash and recycling. So we recommend, as a first step, just reaching out to that landowner or municipality who may be able to help you. And then it's important to think about not only a trash strategy, but also a recycling strategy, because actually much of the debris that you'll find at your site may be recyclable. So we want to make sure that as little trash as possible goes to the landfill at the end of sweep. So you can devise any system that works for you for making sure that recycling gets sorted out. So, you know, this could mean volunteers working in pairs could have one volunteer working on trash and one volunteer working on recycling, or you could sort people up into groups. Whatever system works best for you and the needs of your site, to ensure that we are recycling everything that can be recycled. So some additional strategies here. We talked about the Department of Public Works, and if you're at a state park or local park, if those first strategies don't work, you can reach out to maybe a community organization in your area that you think might have access to a truck or other infrastructure to help you manage the trash, or just a friend with a truck is, you know, a good fail-safe strategy. And if none of those strategies are at your disposal, if none of them work out, then please get in touch with us and we can help you figure out a strategy specific to your site. And we're asking you to make these arrangements by October 1st. So that deadline is really soon. And if you're struggling to make that deadline, and these strategies aren't working for you, just please get in touch with us and we'll be able to help you out. Oh yeah, I forgot to add the image. Okay. So just some recycling tips. These tips are also available on the Resources for Sweep Leaders page on the Riverkeeper site. But just a review of some good recycling protocols. So looking for the triangle with a number at the bottom of the receptacle of the item. Numbers 1 through 7 can usually be recycled, and we recommend looking at your county recommendations for recycling. And tires can also be recycled. So Bridgestone has a recycling program for tires, and we're going to be sending you a link to register your cleanup if you anticipate that you'll be pulling out some tires from your site. And this is really similar to the American Rivers cleanup registration to receive the free trash bags. So if you did that, then this process should be familiar to you. And then metals can also be recycled at a local scrapyard or transfer station. So it's important to separate those out and make sure that they're disposed of properly. And then textiles that are clean and dry can also be recycled. So these can be taken to your local Goodwill or Salvation Army or other recycling facility. And more information on recycling, including a list of by-county regulations, is available on the Resources for Sweep Leaders page, and will also be sent out to you in a link sheet after this webinar. Okay, and then the last thing I'd like to talk about is the Comprehensive Data Collection Initiative. So this is a project that Riverkeeper Sweep has been doing for a couple of years now, and registration or participation in this project has grown steadily over the years, and we're hoping that despite this smaller sweep this year, we can continue a small but mighty participation in this project. And basically this project just entails 2 more types of forms in terms of the data collection for your site. So in addition to the very general form that every sweep site will complete that just estimates the weight of all of the debris picked up, these 2 forms will be required for participating sites in this initiative that have a more like detailed look at all the trash that is being collected. So it's really just taking note of every single piece of trash that comes out of the Hudson or tributary that you're working on. And this level of detail really helps us understand the impacts of sweep and how we can better plan sweep in the future. And also is a really helpful way of looking at the impact of sweep over a longer period of time, because we've been doing this for several years. So we'd really appreciate any participation in this initiative. And if you're thinking like, oh, this sounds, you know, like an interesting idea, but there's a lot to handle, that's totally fine. You can deputize this responsibility of managing the comprehensive data collection initiative responsibilities to somebody in your group that you might know of who is equipped to do it. So for example, if there's someone in your group who's a science enthusiast or science teacher, math teacher, who you think would be well suited to lead this component, just let us know, and that would be great. We can work with them to complete this initiative for your site. So to join, just email me at outreach@riverkeeper.org, telling me about the name of your site and mentioning the data collection initiative. Or you can also email me at sweep@riverkeeper.org. And I'll send you back an overview of the project, what's required, and an FAQ page. So yeah, we would love to have your participation in that project if you're able. And with that, I will turn it over to Jen.
Thank you. My cursor, I was like looking at your cursor and couldn't tell which one was which. So I'm going to be going over the steps to prepare for sweep that everyone should be taking over the next couple of weeks between now and October 17th. So late next week, I'm going to be going into our Austining office, and I'm going to be putting together and mailing your sweep leader packets. So your sweep leader packets are going to have most of the things that you need to have a safe and successful sweep project. So I'm just going to run you through what is going to be in there. There's going to be paper, there's going to be different materials, first aid kits. So the first thing is going to be a day of reporting worksheet on one side and then talking points on the other. So the talking points are, we'll talk more about those as we move on, but the talking points is going to be some general pieces of information about safety, about the river, about welcoming folks, about how to talk about a project that goes beyond your site and to talk about it regionally and more comprehensively. The reporting worksheet is going to be really simple, like how many bags of recycling, how many bags of trash, and then it'll guide you through estimating the weights of each. And then at the end, it'll prompt you to call Julia or I to report on sweep day your results to us. So you're also going to be receiving a list of your registered volunteers as of next Wednesday. So y'all should have received links that have your automatically updating attendee list. So if you go a couple of days after you receive your packet, your piece of paper is no longer going to match potentially what you see listed online. It's totally okay. Just hand write the additional folks and their t-shirt sizes. Right, and on there, we will also be emailing you your link again, reminding you to check it the day before sweep. T-shirt registration closes on the 5th of October, so you won't have to worry about additional t-shirt orders coming in. No one will be ordering t-shirts. You will have to distribute after that date. So you'll have all the things in hand way far in advance that you'll need to distribute. So you'll also have volunteer waivers. We are requiring folks to pre-register. However, you can say mandatory 1,000 times, but there is always going to potentially be someone who shows up because they saw the project posted somewhere and didn't pre-register. So there will be backup volunteer waivers in your packet for folks who didn't pre-register. Your box will also contain a first aid kit, sharps container, and a bottle of hand sanitizer, as well as spare masks and plastic gloves. And then it will also have a t-shirt for you and your co-leaders or co-leader if you have them, and then also for any volunteers who ordered them, as I mentioned earlier. So on sweep day, just to give you a run through, this is basically the sweep day checklist on a slide. You want to get there a little bit early to check for any hazardous conditions that have emerged over the last couple of weeks since you've last visited your project site. So you want to look for slippery conditions, ivy, ticks, any like weird holes in the ground that folks could trip over, and just be sure to make volunteers aware of those potential hazards. If your project is remote or hard to find, you might want to place any necessary signage. You'll also want to arrange materials such as t-shirts, plastic bags, and facilitate check-in, all from a socially distanced perspective for you, but also to ensure that volunteers remain socially distanced as well. So as volunteers check in, we want to make sure that they do so from a safe distance, collect liability waivers from any unregistered participants, safe distribution of t-shirts, and then you'll want to use the sweep talking points to welcome volunteers. Should any students request a community service letter from you, you can just defer them to us. So just let them know that they can email us at sweep@riverkeeper.org, and the week after sweep, we'll be issuing any requested volunteer service letters. So social distancing at sweep. So all participants and sweep leaders must wear masks, fully covering both their nose and their mouth at all times, with no exceptions other than when eating or drinking, and then you should be extra far away from people. A minimum of 6 feet of social distance must be maintained at all times, except for members of the same household. When announcements are made, sweep leaders, please be sure to be an additional 10 or so feet away and be wearing masks when providing announcements to volunteers. Sweep leaders, in the past, some have generously provided food or beverages. This year, we're not advising that, but folks can consume any beverages or snacks that they bring in personal containers. They just need to be socially distanced while they consume it. And then participants should not share tools. If tools must be shared, we recommend using disinfectant wipes or a 10% bleach solution and paper towels to disinfect them between uses. So this is just some quick overview of what we're communicating to sweep volunteers. So we're instructing volunteers bring their own masks, gloves, hand sanitizer, and a full reusable water bottle. We are recommending that volunteers do not participate if they've had any signs of illness or have potentially been exposed to COVID-19 within the last 2 weeks. We're also communicating the need for volunteers to be wearing masks at all times and maintain social distancing throughout the duration of every sweep project. We're also doing our best to require and mandate prior registration to reduce contact with shared sign-up materials. And we're also advising that volunteers should only carpool with members of their same household. And then just one more time, what Riverkeeper is providing you with to help stop. There we go. Okay, Julia's back.
I'm back. Is everybody back?
Yeah, we're totally fine. We just lost for like literally 1 hot minute.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're fine. I finished the slide and then it just paused, but I don't think the recording paused. So
great.
All set.
Okay. I am. Sorry, you just have to give me 1 second here. I am looking for the presentation, which closed.
Great.
Okay. Webinar.
I feel like everyone is having the occasional internet issue as we continue to just work from home for what seems to be a very, very long time. So I'm going to just be looking at this other slide so I can just sort of keep going while Julia pulls up the presentation. So that was just an overview on what what Riverkeeper as an organization is communicating to volunteers ahead of sweep in terms of social distancing guidelines. We're also making some changes to our sweep talking points and how we are hoping that sweep leaders will introduce their projects, really putting emphasis on safety and social distancing as the main priority. And so we are streamlining the talking points a little more than they've ever been, but still starting off with a gratitude and appreciation for participation, and then really taking the time to emphasize the importance of mask wearing, covering both the nose and mouth, and a minimum of 6 feet of social distance at all times. Then any words that you want to say about your local tributary or about the Hudson itself, and telling that broader story about how the Hudson River watershed is really an entity of its own, with the Hudson River being fed by thousands of streams and tributaries, and all of it working together to create a really conducive ecosystem. And also, it's great to mention that Riverkeeper works with many organizations. So this is a good opportunity, if you haven't already, to introduce any organizations that you're representing by hosting a sweep project and drawing attention to the fact that there are over 75 other partner organizations who are working together to make our biggest day of service for the Hudson River Estuary possible. We also, as every year, we love when folks share their experience on social media. So anyone that does so, maybe you have some teenagers at your site or like millennials who aren't me and actually know how to use technology, they can tag Riverkeeper and use the hashtags Riverkeeper Sweep. And also it came from the Hudson as well. So during sweep, you'll want to be checking in your volunteers as they arrive, making sure that volunteers maintain social distancing and have the materials that they need, hand out any spare gloves and masks as needed, and take photos yourself or deputize someone to take photos. We love pictures of faces, interesting trash, as well as before and after pictures. And socially distanced group photos. We had one on a previous slide. Julia, if we go back like 2, we have a funny like socially distant. Yeah, we can see one there. And then if we go back, I think like even one more, we have another socially distant picture. And I think it's like on slide 15, but we have socially distant images are really great. And they like look sort of funny when you're trying to explain to people that they can't stand next to each other for a picture, but they actually end up working out a lot better than you would think. So that's all of the things for during sweep. Oh, and then if you get any press, tell them about your sweep project, tell them about your organization, and offer them the chance to pick up some trash or remove some invasives if they look game. So after sweep, on the back of your sweep leader talking point sheet, there's going to be just a simple data collection sheet. So this is not the comprehensive data collection initiative. These are metrics that every sweep leader reports, and we work really hard to try to get this data on sweep day so we can start celebrating the results that night. So essentially, it's going to guide you through adding up the impact of your sweep project. So it'll be totaling the number of volunteers, totaling the big and small bags of trash and estimating the weight, getting a count on the recycling bags, estimating the weight, counting up the number of tires, asking your volunteers if they saw any single-use plastic bags, writing that down, and then taking notes on any trees or shrubs planted or maintained, or any other results, such as like noteworthy finds. So if you find like a carousel horse, a toilet, a refrigerator, a gigantic 3-foot tall teddy bear like we found in Croton a couple of years ago with the ferry sloops, all of those things are great to put in on your reporting sheet. And then you're going to want to call myself or Julia, our Cell phone numbers will be on the bottom of the sheet. So once you're done, your project is done, you've done your totals, just give us a call and we'll get your results in and add it to the cumulative total. If we don't hear from you, we'll probably call you not long after your project ends. So we also wanted to provide an update on the Sweep Brewery partnership. We're really proud to have many years of partnerships with over 30 breweries, cideries, and bars around New York City and the Hudson Valley. And as you likely know, in the past, our brewery partners have generously donated a free beverage on the house to each volunteer that is above 21 years of age. However, the COVID-19 pandemic has posed serious financial challenges for our partners. And this year, we're asking Sweep leaders and Sweep volunteers to join Riverkeeper in supporting them. And so there's going to be no free drink coupons this year, but instead we are going to be advocating that volunteers and Sweep leaders and other supporters stop by one of our partner breweries, cideries, or bars and purchasing beverages at full price to enjoy safely at home with family or roommates. And here is a list of our brewery partners and a map. This is on the Sweep website, which is www.riverkeeper.org/sweep. So we have partners all the way from New York City, all the way up to C.H. Evans Brewing Company in Albany, to Defiant Brewing Company in Pearl River, to Industrial Arts in Garnerville, KCBC in Brooklyn, to Single Cut in Queens. We really cover the map with our partners, and we really love and appreciate our brewery partners. So we hope that volunteers will be willing to go in and support them this year. So next steps. These are directly off of the Sweep Leader checklist, which is your best point of reference for keeping up to date with Sweep planning action items. So the next steps you should be working on right now, are to recruit volunteers, promote your project, seek any needed donations, and secure your trash hauling and recycling strategies. Then, between October 13th and October 14th, roughly, we anticipate that all Sweep leaders will have received your Sweep leader packets. If you have not received your Sweep leader packet by October 13th or October 14th, it is likely because we don't have your correct address or something happened in the mail. And so if anything happens where you don't get it by the 13th or 14th, please call, email, alert Julia and I as soon as you can so we can make sure that we get you the materials in hand that you need ahead of Sweep. And if that entails me getting in the car and driving to you wherever you may be with materials or express overnighting something, that's totally fine. We want to make sure that you're prepared in every way for Sweep Day on October 17th. So that Monday or Tuesday of Sweep Week, you want to be reaching out to your registered volunteers, introducing yourself as the Sweep leader, sharing any reminders that you have for the project in terms of any tools folks need to bring or you'd like them to bring, reminding them to dress appropriately for the weather, telling them any last minute parking details, all of those types of things. And then also just reminding them of the basics. So like the when, the where, the who, and the what are also good to review in that email. And then on Sweep Day itself, you'll follow your day of to-do list that we reviewed in the previous slides. So before we take any questions, I know that y'all probably have a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. So if you bring your cursor down to the bottom and you put it lingering there, there'll be a Q&A box. There's also a chat box. So if you have any questions, we're happy to take those now, but we also just wanted to share the two website URLs, and I can throw them in the chat. So one is the resources for Sweep Leaders page. Basically all of the documents that we talked about in today's webinar live here, as well as the previous webinar recording lives here as well. There's also a Q&A section. It's just a really helpful one-stop shop for everything. And then there's also the sweep page itself, which is www.org/sweep, which is where the full list of projects lives, as well as all of our brewery partners, sponsors, and the like. So these are your two most important websites. We're also going to be sending out an email with a link to the recording, as well as the resources from the past webinar and this one, as well as the watch links for both of those. So if anyone has any questions, Julia and I are happy to take them now. We're going to hang around for a couple of minutes and answer those questions, or you can reach us at sweep@riverkeeper.org. So feel free to put questions in the chat or in the Q&A box. Otherwise, look out for an email from us later this evening. All right, well, we're going to give you one more minute to think of any questions that you might have. But if you don't have any questions, feel free to log off. Thank you, Dean. We appreciate